So I think I somehow became an extension of my mom, and because she was always so ambitious, she wanted me to, in a way, continue what she didn't complete. She is retired, but she's still very ambitious. So that I think I knew that I was living somebody else's life, which I knew I was in a mental prison to begin with because I had to perform. I didn't really have, and I wanted to become a dancer. I wanted to become an artist, and I was told that that's not going to happen. Hello.
Hello. Welcome back to
Lady.
another episode of How I Escaped Prison. It's a great pleasure to have today with us a true friend of mine, Galina Barbascumpa. Welcome. I will say a few words about you. By the way, our listeners, she sent me earlier half a page of her titles and she said, take what you want from this. So what I picked is Galina Barbascumpa is a multilingual business intelligence analyst, founder of Barbascumpa, a new kind of legal consulting firm. She is the co-president of EY NYC Toastmasters, vice president of the Home and Lifestyle Show of Rotary International. And most importantly, when she's not working, she's enjoying running, cooking, and spending time with friends and family. She lives in Saratoga Springs, New York. Thank you for being with us today. It's again a great pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me. I actually feel honored to be interviewed by representatives of two different generations. I'm always excited to be in the gap. So it's a pleasure for me too. Thank you.
Do you want to add anything to what I just said?
Or expand?
Well, in terms of introduction?
Yes. If I covered everything that matters to you.
Well, thank you for that. I was actually asked I am joining a women's professional podcast on September 10. So I was somewhat prepared for this introduction because I was asked to give one, and I usually do not like to do that. So I think you pretty much covered what is important. So I'll stick with that. Thank you.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you because you invited me to Toastmasters. And although I tried Toastmasters before, this was the first time I spoke in public about, although it was on Zoom, but for me was a huge deal, about my story. So because of you, I broke the ice. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I always feel like there is a lot of voice out there which needs to be encouraged to speak up. And I've learned from my experience that a lot of, I think I don't know if I can translate the Romanian statement in the correct way, but e ușor a scrie versuri când nu ai nimic să spui. So it's very easy to talk a lot when you have nothing to say, but actually those people who have a great story and could say something that could actually impact somebody else in a good way, a lot of times they're being silent. So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do that.
Yes. And actually, I would like to ask you to help me further because I'm preparing for my first TED. And you would be the best person with your qualification, Toastmasters and Rotary to help me with that. But what exactly what we forgot to mention is that Galina wrote this amazing book, and it's called Conversing with My Twin Flame, part 1. I'm waiting for part 2. And I mean, this book meant a lot to me. It's a tiny book, but has so much wisdom in it. And I've been thinking of my true self for a while, and I will just read a short paragraph, if you allow me, from this book so we can start the conversation. Who am I? We spend our lives wondering about the purpose of our existence. Questions like, who am I? And why am I here? Come up so often that we become oblivious to them. Everyone seems to know what is best for you. Our parents choose our hobbies, interests, careers, spouses, and so on. We lose our identity before we discover our very essence. One day, that pain becomes so suffocating that we decide to make a change. This paragraph was truly moving for me. Yeah. And talking about change, I admire you because of your resilience. You are probably one of the most resilient person that I've met. And I read an article the other day that said the most powerful women are the most resilient. So you are in that category. And I would like to ask you, what was the defining moment or period of your life that you realized you are in a mental prison, and how you broke out of that identity that you created before, probably by asking this question from the paragraph, and decided to make a change?
Well, I think we had the side conversations over and over with you, Andrea, that unfortunately, a lot of us do not make that change unless we're forced by certain circumstances. I was definitely one of those people. I'm a planner, I'm a perfectionist. So I had my 5 lives I had planned. I knew exactly when and how it's going to happen, and nobody could tell me otherwise. But I think that the defining moment for me to change, well, first of all, I have to say that I don't take credit. I was forced into change. So I did not make that change willingly. But I did realize at some point before the change happened that I was not living my own destiny. And I was so eager to do that. I was born in a family where you somehow were supposed to follow a path that somebody lined up for you. I'm having a very ambitious mother, the first one in the family who went to medical school without speaking the language. So in the country, you would only speak Romanian, but to go to medical school, you had to speak Russian. So my mom, from a village, went to the city to study Russian in 2 years. So she studied enough to get into medical school. So I think I somehow became an extension of my mom. And because she was always so ambitious, she wanted me to, in a way, continue what she didn't complete. She is retired, but she's still very ambitious. So that I think I knew that I was living somebody else's life, which I knew I was in a mental prison to begin with, because I had to perform. I didn't really have, and I wanted to become a dancer. I wanted to become an artist. And I was told that that's not going to happen. So I think I was pretty early on, I realized that I was assigned a duty or a job that it wasn't really mine, but I had to do it. So again, early on, I knew what was happening, but I don't think I had the voice. speaking of the voice to make those decisions. Somewhat, I remember my mom used to tell me, well, if the smart one needs to shut up and do the work so that everybody can benefit from that quietly. So in a way, that was a mental prison, because you can't really do what you want to do. You have to always meet somebody's expectations, which were unreasonable. I didn't realize at the time, but now when I'm talking to people from my childhood, they do tell me that the expectations and the pressure you're on were just unbelievable. So one, I knew that. And when I realized that I had to break out of that was that my mom, and you don't have to delete this, I'm saying it up. My mom visited New York for the first time, and that was the time when I was doing my master's in New York City. And I had my beautiful apartment with doorman and great job. I was managing a women-owned company. I was very happy, very successful. And my mom came to visit me for a month, and the only feedback that I got from her is that this is it? That's all we can do? So I think this was the defining moment when I said, luckily I was already, and I think looking back, there are some ages, and I'm passionate about numerology. We can have another conversation about that. But there is something that happens with us at 33, which is Jesus' age for those who are spiritual, and then and when you turn 40s for women. I just turned 40, so another click happened to me. I can share about that. So, and then I realized that I did all this for 30 years, and I realized that I'm not gonna ever meet my mom's expectations and nobody else's. So I said, okay, my choice was to become a doctor or a lawyer. So I said, okay, I did my master's. I did what I wanted to do. I don't want to be a lawyer. I always wanted to do business development, deal with create. Okay, I said I didn't become an artist, fair enough, but I really love to write. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do from now on whatever I want. So this is when I started taking steps. But then again, being forced into change, that's another question. So I don't know how much time do we have in between questions, because I don't want to cover everything in just one question. So I'm inviting you to stop me. Because
Yeah, no, yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Let me ask you a new question then, if you want to.
I know that in Toastmasters, the rule is that Toastmasters is not a dialogue.
Leading, yeah. Of course, you're a leader, so you're leading the.
I'm leading your podcast, right?
Yeah. So can you share some strategies or practices you employed to break free from your mental prison?
Running. When I was in school, in middle school, I broke my leg when I was 13, and obviously over there you get a scutire. So I was excused from sports. I don't think I ever did any of that. And then in college, I was just anyway. So yeah, I was not into sports. But then I started running. I was in Chelsea at the time, so I really I lived by the Hudson. I was running, and I'm not even joking, 10 miles a day. I didn't know I could even run a half a mile. But something happened in me. And I think looking back, I was running 10 miles a day. And I think that was, if I look back now, that was a good way for me to cope with everything. So I think
constructive escape, yeah. That is our terminology. Yes.
Yeah. And not to mention all the other benefits. So I came up with this. I even was running like an Instagram page at a time. I was calling it Running Tourism in New York City, because I didn't like to run at the gym. I literally ran from Chelsea to Brooklyn, not much Queens, but to Harlem. So I was taking different routes, taking pictures, and actually telling stories and stuff, discover different restaurants. So it wasn't just running, it was a whole adventure for me. And I think I did that for about 3 years. So definitely being out in nature, I have to say that I was avoiding people a lot. So I have to say that I don't think being with people in those moments is helpful. Sorry, I love people, but I don't think so. So running, spending time in nature, meeting strangers, talking to strangers, that always helps. People who have nothing to do with you, you don't have to. I think we are more honest when we share our stories or ourselves. People who don't know, because we know that there is no liability. We're not going to meet them again. Also, a lot of reading. I always loved reading. And I think the book that you mentioned, I didn't realize I'm writing a book. I was just writing. And at some point, I was in Toastmasters already. And although I was so busy, and I realized that, wow, I have enough information to put it together. What would this look like? So, and I think that, again, yes, right. And also sometimes I would just, I don't think the traditional type of meditation doesn't really help me, because I am super hyper, and I like to I'm running 10 miles a day. So, but sometimes I would just turn off the light and just sit in that dark from like literally 1 p.m. until next morning. So that was my meditation, just sitting in the dark. And I was telling myself, I need to listen to myself thinking, because all the distractions, all the living in your city and all that, it's you can't. And I think we get in a lot of trouble because we don't listen to ourselves. We listen to everything and everyone. And this is, I think, a part of that was mentioned in the book, that everybody knows what's best for us. You should do this, you should do that. And we I don't know, somehow we think that if somebody has a seniority, or if somebody's older, they know better. No, I think that the minute that I quieted my mind, I think the very first decision is like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm a peacemaker. I'm not a fighter. And I'm not going to ever do anything just for the sake of the money. You can pay me millions of dollars. If I don't like the people I'm working with, then I'm not going to do that. And I think that the breaking point for me to leave law is that I had a manager. I was working with these different law firms, and I was doing very good. I really liked the legal part, going to court and dealing with judges, seeing the judge that's pissed off, whatever, it's fun. But the manager of the firm, she had some like a bachelor's in business management or something. So she was trying to pointing at, like, making me feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. And that was it for me. I'm like, excuse me, no, this is not for me. So yeah, it's like somehow we feel like if somebody has a better job or more money, they know better. No, the best teacher is your inner voice. You have all the answers. Nobody knows what's best for you. Not even your mom. I'm sorry. I love my mom. She does. Thank God she doesn't understand English. But yeah, so um yes, just don't listen to anyone. I think these were for me to, and sometimes even to my friends, they'll tell me, oh, Galina, but you already have a master's. Like, why would you change it? I changed my career like upside down, and I'm so excited. Like, I really, really love what I do, and I can't wait. I like sometimes I start working at 4 a.m. Like, literally, I don't feel like I'm working weekends. I don't care what's happening. So it's oh, but you have a master's. Oh, but how are you gonna change now? You're already in your 30s, 40s, whatever. I mean, you know what? No, no, no. I
Never too late.
Yes, I said I care about sleeping well at night. Whatever is gonna help me do that, I'm gonna do that. So yes.
Now, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned listening to ourselves and to our own mind. Have you ever been so unaware of your thoughts that you were listening to somebody else than to your own thoughts?
Oh yes, I wasn't just um I don't really like to use labels like awaken or whatever. Okay. Maybe I did come to my senses. I was forced. I have to mention that because a lot of people think that, oh, and I don't believe in, I know there are a lot of the spiritual practices would sell you programs that they will help you awaken. No, no, you're going to awaken when somebody is going to literally pull the rug from under you, and you're gonna feel like what is happening. So I don't believe in that. And obviously, of course, I did that. We all do that. And I think it's the human conditioning. I think I can probably use that. there is this human conditioning, which it's definitely defined by where we're coming from, our families, our background, and somehow we feel like this is the way, which is so wrong. No, I'm sorry, not even your parents know what is the way, because they have their own generational trauma they inherited, and all those biases and all those lenses. I like somebody gave this example, is like, we should look at people like everybody's watching a TV channel. We watching the different channels at the same time. They're like, literally, you have no idea. Somebody's watching, I don't know, MTV, and somebody. So,
or different movies. We're in different movies.
yeah, and we get so frustrated because why nobody understands me? I mean, they can't. I'm sorry, they can't. They have their own filters. So I definitely did that. Oh yeah, I probably still do that, because I'm sure that I do have blind spots. It's very hard to. That's why I don't believe in somebody who says, "Oh, I'm completely awake." And I'm sorry, there is nothing.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. You don't
When
know
you
what you
think
don't
you
know.
are,
Yeah.
it's like something else happens, and you're like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like me, I was forced to change, and I feel so much better now, because it's exactly how you say. It's like I used to live in a movie, and now I catch myself um thinking all kinds of crazy things, and it's fun. It's so funny. How can we create our own stories and believe in them and live by them? But yeah, listen, this is, as you said, it's human conditioning. We are, yeah, and I don't know if it's a Eastern European thing that you have to do what I'll tell you to do, or it's a general thing, because I've been saying, I've said so many times before on this podcast that I wanted to be an artist, a fashion designer, and my dad was complete. That said, no, no, an artist is not a profession. You need a profession in order to make money. So this is how I got to law school.
Right. Well,
And now I have to deal with it too.
yeah.
I'm hearing the same thing from however many years ago.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm so happy. I do enjoy this, because I see a lot of also generational gaps. And I don't think it's East European. I think there are some cultures. I have some friends who come from Indian culture, which is worse, because at least in our cultures, our parents, because they don't really have nothing to give us, that kind of in a way give us free will, right? Because if my mom would have paid for my JD 350 grants and whatever, I would have never been able to get out of that, like a lot of kids do. So I think it's also, in a way, it's a blessing that I got nothing from my parents. So basically I said, okay, I took a loan, I went to law school, F it, okay, whatever. It's my money. So now I can do whatever I want. So, but I think it's, I think there is an advantage of disadvantage in that, and having a family who sets the way for you and makes it easier. But I do think that I still think that diversity or adversity or does help us build that resilience. And Andrea, you did use that the word at the beginning, and I think especially in this world, it's so easy to get sidetrack, fall into this anxiety, depression, whatever you name it. It's because there is a lack of resilience, and you can't purchase that. I think even as a parent, you can't really teach that, because a lot of times kids are kind of like replicating what you're doing, and it's so easy to lose it. So resilience comes just by doing things, falling, making mistakes, getting burned, and knowing that, listen, I was actually joking to Steve the other way, and I'm not gonna, I don't know if I should say, maybe you can cut later, but I said last year dealing with Marianne, right? Maybe nobody's gonna know who listened, but I said if I was able to win over Marian and not submit to her, then I can do anything, right? So that was kind of like my apex of achievement, right? Dealing with somebody who's so difficult for me. Because like I had a difficult opponent, but it's just this is just a silly example, but this is how you build that resilience, right? Or for example, I told my mom, I don't care what you think about me. I'm not going to be a lawyer. So you can tell your friends whatever you want. Like my mom, she doesn't understand what is business intelligence. And not even a lot of people who live in the Western world more. Like what exactly you do, right? So it's like, if you're not a prosecutor or if you're not cutting somebody open, what exactly are you doing? And I said, I think I'm fine with my mom not understanding what I'm doing. So yeah, that's the apex of my achievement.
No, it's funny because I told my parents what I'm doing, right? And my dad keeps asking, so what are you doing exactly? And I'm coach. And he said, what sport?
Right, exactly. Like just
Because he heard of coaches for sports. But yeah, so I started to explain what a coach is. Oh, like a therapist. Well, yeah, if that's easier for you to understand what I'm doing, kind of similar to that, but among other things.
yeah,
I told him about the podcast and he said, so what is that?
right,
So of course it's hard to understand, to explain and for them to understand, and from a very closed mentality in Eastern Europe. Don't tell anybody.
right,
It's very hard for them to understand me, that I want to be open with my life and with my experiences. And it's funny that I don't want to tell them. I don't like to be told what I cannot be, because every time somebody's telling me you can't do that, somehow is motivating me to do that.
exactly,
So yeah, that's with the parents telling us what to do and what not to do, and how they know best. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I think I actually witnessed. I witnessed my friends. My friend has twins. I know them since they were two, but they're 13 now, and they're like very musical and all that. They're very smart, and I'm seeing how. And I'm not a parent, so I know that maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm seeing how much damage parents are doing early on in terms of oh, you should do this, oh, you should definitely take dance class. Well, what if she wants to do the track, right? Why would she? So maybe the other one wants to dance, or maybe she doesn't want to do any of those activities. Maybe she just wants to ride. But I think it's important to talk more about that, and I'm going to leave it at that, to have more conversations with, first of all, parents, because unfortunately I think this is where the damage starts, and we should heal the
Yeah.
roots. We should talk more about. I have actually, I know somebody who is always so stressed about, oh, I don't know, nothing works, my son is dealing with eating disorder, and then therapy doesn't work and all that. And a lot of times the finger has to be pointed the other way around, but unfortunately it's very, I don't think as a society people have that courage. It's so interesting that I hear a lot on the internet that, oh, the most important part in relationships communication. Oh, I don't think, I think people should go back to what communicating means. Communicating doesn't mean agreeing with everything that somebody says, or being
Blaming
confident.
somebody else.
Yes, like, or being afraid to stand up for yourself. Like, what in communication doesn't mean, oh, we have to keep peace, or hiding is very popular in East Europe, right? Okay, my husband is a drunk and he's beating me, but nobody needs to know, or something, right? So yeah, it's, I don't think people don't know what communicating actually means in a real life situation, not
Yeah.
just on the level of concept. Like, how do you teach your child. How do you teach your child how to come and tell you, I don't want to go to law school, I want to do this? Can you teach your child to do that? This is having the tough conversation. I think this is a big weakness that we have as a society.
Yeah.
I think I was raised in such an opposite way. I feel like since I was young, I was always I did everything. I tried everything. If I didn't like it, that was it. I tried something else. But I was always in classes. Saturdays were I was going from class to class all day. And I think I was never told I can't do something or I can't at least try something. I was never hindered in any way. I did everything from ski patrol to skating to tennis to piano to guitar to I've done it all. And not only just trying it, I've been head first. My dad bought me a guitar. I did piano for God knows how many years. I mean, I was really never told no. And now,
Yeah.
because my grandpa is telling me that I cannot be a fashion designer because that's not a real profession,
The same grandpa, by the
same
way.
grandpa.
I mean, my father now, 30 years later,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do with that information. I'm not gonna change
it as information. This is just information and nothing else. So it's just a noise. Yes.
Right. It's another. He's in a different movie.
Yeah.
So you are actors in two separate movies, and of course you can communicate.
No, it's. I mean, what does he expect me to do? I don't understand. What does he expect?
I think that he expects to see something, and I had this conversation with somebody else. I think even my mom was like, "Oh, but your cousin, she also went to law school. She's a prosecutor." And I'm saying, "Okay, let me break it down. Being a prosecutor in Moldova means I don't want to talk about the salary, but the only way you can survive it if you take a kickback, right? So to be a prosecutor in a country like Moldova, you have to have the right personality." I said, "Mom, I don't have that personality. So if you want to be a prosecutor in the US, you can do that, but also that doesn't mean that you're going to make a lot of money, whatever." So but I think for them is immeasurable. Oh, my daughter is a prosecutor. So it doesn't matter how happy she is, how miserable she is. It's what they tell other people. So I think it's all about
the image. Yeah.
Yeah. So which it really means nothing. Like that's what I'm saying. You take it as information. And this is it.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing. What else can I do?
Yeah. Well, I believe we're approaching the end of this episode, and the last question is, what piece of advice or wisdom would you give to our listeners to begin their journey to being aware and live their life by looking inside?
I actually just completed reading a book about, and I think I mentioned I'm very passionate about numerology, and I read a book about a soul contract. So everybody has a soul contract. So unfortunately, our name, in a way, our soul before incarnates on earth, if you believe in that or not, it comes with it chooses a task, right? So your soul, I'm going to work, I'm going to do this. So basically all the lessons and all the people that you meet are your soul chose them. You can't run away from them. But
you agreed to this life, basically.
Exactly. Unfortunately, also, it's there. We are also given with the free will, right? So all that we do have, we come with a predestined or like destiny, like somebody says, "Oh, this is my destiny, whatever, poor me," right? We are also given free will, which means that at any time we can choose what to do those lessons, right? So we can victimize ourselves, "Oh, poor me," and a big part of victimization, which is very popular, and I think America is leading on those drug prescription, all that, is to find all this. So some people choose avoiding dealing with what's happening with them, and or other coping mechanisms, or getting rid of all sorts of addictions, right? So we think that sometimes we think that dealing or feeling those pains, which actually breaking out of that destiny, which we are, yes, our soul comes to that, and stepping into a new level of consciousness takes, all it takes is to sit with your feelings and feel the pain, right? Not running, not avoiding, not numbing, right? But somehow, and it's interesting because studies prove that 95% of people choose the opposite way. They would do anything but that, to define their feeling and to sit with them. Because once you do that, they're just going to go away and you're going to move into the next level of consciousness. So I think what I'm encouraging, first of all, and maybe suggesting, or I don't know, if I don't really like to give advice, is to not be afraid of your own feelings. Your feelings are there not to scare you, they're not your enemies, they're your friends. Your feelings are there to tell you that something is not right, and you know it's not right. And just once you're gonna allow yourself, make that first step. Why am I feeling this way? And I think once you ask yourself that question, or even that question we didn't get to touch that this time, about who am I? I'm not just born on this earth to pay the bills, to impress somebody who doesn't even care about you. And why am I here? So if we start with this question, what is my purpose on this earth? And also allow yourself to experience yourself. We don't allow ourselves to experience ourselves. And then we complain that, oh, that person doesn't like me, or that person left me, or that person. Do you like yourself? Excuse me. Have you met yourself? So maybe we should end this with this. Allow yourself to get to know yourself to begin with, because I think this is a wonderful journey, and a lot of our problems in life will just disappear once we make that decision. The right people will stay, the wrong people will go away. The right situations will just come to you. And I actually have here, I woke up one morning at 3 a.m. and I couldn't, something was bothering me. And then I just opened the Instagram and I wrote this quote here on my desk: stay still, the forest is coming to you. Thank you, ladies. You're beautiful.
That's a nice quote.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being with us. And we should schedule another one to talk about numerology, because I know you are great with that. And for our listeners, thank you for watching. The main sponsor of this podcast, if you don't know until now, is Alexa Dumitru. So our outfits are made by her. If you want to listen to more subjects and more stories, please subscribe and like our videos.
And Galina's information will be down below in the description as well, so you can go find her.
Yes, and buy her amazing book.
Thank you.
Thank you
ladies.
so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
See you. Bye.